Okay, welcome to Standard 18. Standard 18 is maybe a bit of a tough one. It's trigonometry. Let's read it. Standard 18, students know the definitions of basic trigonometric functions defined by the angles of a right triangle. They also know and are able to use elementary relationships between them. For example, tangent of x equals sine of x divided by cosine of x, and sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Okay, that's a lot of words. Let's see what we're really in for. Standard 18 is every problem from 74 to 78. So let's look at problem 74. In the figure below, if sine of x equals 5 over 13, what are cosine of x and tangent of x? Well, here's x. And sine, remember, this whole thing functions on toa. So that is sine is opposite over adjacent, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. I think I just said opposite over adjacent. I meant opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, opposite over adjacent. Okay, so the sine is 5 over 13. That means the opposite over the hypotenuse is 5 over 13. So let's just put 5 for the opposite and 13 for the hypotenuse. Now, we're not given this one, but we can do the Pythagorean theorem to find it. So it's going to be 5 squared plus x squared equals 13 squared. It's 25 plus x squared equals 169. That is x squared equals 144. That's x equals 12. Okay, so we've got a 12 here. Now, this was the opposite. This was the hypotenuse, and this is the adjacent. So we need to find the cosine. So the cosine is going to be, again, adjacent over hypotenuse. So the cosine will be 12 over 13. And the tangent will be opposite over adjacent, or 5 over 12. So cosine equals 12 over 13. Tangent equals 5 over 12. A looks to be the answer. Let's just check the other ones. Cosine equals 12 over 13. But they get the tangent wrong. See? That's wrong. Cosine is 13 over 12. That's wrong. It's 12 over 13. And again, that's wrong. So the only one that fits is A. Okay, so that's it for number 74. 75. In the figure below, sine of A equals 0.7. Okay, so the sine of A is 0.7. Okay, and it says what is the length of AC? So AC is the one we want to know. So we'll call this X. So what we get here is that we're talking sine. So this is the opposite, this is the hypotenuse. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So in other words, what we have here is that 21 over x equals 0.7. So if we want to get x alone, well, the first thing we can do is multiply by x on both sides. And that'll disappear, and we get 0.7x equals 21. Then we can divide by 0.7. So by 0.7. So basically, that isolates the variable. We get x equals 21 over 0.7. So here's 21. Here's 0.7. Move that one. I'll turn that to 210. So 7 into 210. Well, 7 goes into 21 3 times. That makes 21. 21 minus 21 is 0. 7 goes into 0 0 times, but that gives us our answer. Our answer is 30. So x equals 30. Alright, next one, 76. Okay. Approximately how many feet tall is the streetlight? Alright, so here we're given 40 degrees. So that's our angle of record. We're giving our h. Now our h here, that stands for height, but that is not the hypotenuse. That is the opposite. And the 20 here is the adjacent. So opposite adjacent, really quick, we know this is a tangent problem. So here's what we're using. We're not going to be using cosine. We're not going to be using sine. So it's going to be h over 20 equals 0.84. So of course, if you want to get h alone, it's real simple. You just multiply both sides by 20. And that crosses out. You get h equals 0.84 times 20. So that's 0, 0, 0. This is going to be 816. and we move the decimal over twice, so we get 16.8 is our answer. Our answer is C. Okay, so that's number 76. Now we're going to do number 77. Right triangle ABC is pictured below. Which equation is correct for BC? Okay, so this one has a little bit of a trick to it. But if we're using this as our angle of record, then to find BC, you can say that BC, of course, is the opposite, and this is the hypotenuse, and this is the adjacent. So you can say that BC over AB is the tangent of, or sorry, is the sine of 32. Okay, so let's see, sine of 32, BC over AB. Let's see, this isn't AB. This represents AC, so that's not correct. The other one that says sine of 58. Okay, so none of these fit that model. There's another way of looking at it, though. We can say, for instance, BC over AC equals tangent of 32, because that would be an opposite over adjacent. So BC over AC equals tangent of 32. Well, it doesn't even say tangent of 32 here, so that's also not an option. So we're not getting the sine or the tangent that we want for this. So now it's a moment where we have to get a little creative. This is 90, this is 32, so by triangle sum theorem we know that this one's going to be 58. Now the thing about this is that it changes our angle of record. Now this one is our angle of record, so this is no longer opposite, this is now adjacent, and this one is opposite. So now we can say, for instance, if this is the angle, that the tangent of 58 equals 8.2 over BC. Well, we do see that. We see it right here. Tangent of 58 equals 8.2 over BC. Let's look at it again. This is the angle, and this is the opposite over the adjacent. So the tangent of 58 equals 8.2 over BC. So that must be the answer. We're going to go with C. All right. Last problem is going to be 78. And this one's very wordy, so find key words. A 13-foot ladder is leaning against a brick wall. The top of the ladder touches the wall 12 feet above the ground. So this is the wall. The top of the ladder touches the wall 12 feet above the ground. It's a 13-foot ladder. The bottom of the ladder, right here, is 5 feet from the bottom of the wall. What is the sine of the angle formed by the ground and the base of the ladder? So really, you have to understand the language here. What is the sine of the angle formed by the ground? Okay, well, this is the ground and the base of the ladder. Well, the base of the ladder is going to be right here. So the sine of the angle, what it's really saying is, what is the sine of this angle? So we'll call this x. And where's our opposite? Well, our opposite is going to be the wall. And where's our hypotenuse? That's going to be the ladder. So the sine of this angle is going to be 12 over 13, which is right here. Okay, and that does it for number 78. So that does it indeed for Standard 18. Thank you very much. Rewind when you need to.